This is one of my favorite items in all of D&D. And that's why. But what if... This item is called the Bag of Beans, and the bag is... well, it's a bag of beans, but the beans are magic. Honestly, I'm amazed I haven't seen other people talking about this item more because it is amazing. The bag contains 3d4 beans that can then be planted and watered to have a randomized effect, similar to the Deck of Many Things. I'm not going to give you every single possible effect because there's actually 12 potential outcomes from planting one of these, but I will give you a quick example of one.
Hey, you son of a bitch, why'd you do that?
Kidding me.
I swear if I could move, I'd kick the ever-living shit out of you.
Yes, this is a possible outcome. I'm just gonna go over here now.
Walk away from me. I'll tell everybody about that embarrassing thing you did in middle school.
And we're walking.
Doom.
Okay, so now that that's gone, the bean can do things like sprout an animate and immobile statue of the person who planted it, who starts hurling insults and verbal threats against them. Yeah, it's a fun item. It could also sprout a fruit tree with 1d10 plus 20 fruit, which each act individually as a randomly generated magical potion that lasts for 30 days. But then there's also the chance that you could sprout an entire pyramid with a 60-foot base that happens to have a sarcophagus with a mummy lord inside. Yeah, a giant pyramid with a CR 15 mummy lord. Boy, I sure hope you didn't plant this bean anywhere near a town, because that would suck. Anyways, those are just some examples of how crazy this item can be. Obviously, the Mummy Lord is a very dangerous effect, but even something as simple as giving free 20+ potions is mind-bogglingly broken. There's 12 possible randomized effects, and honestly, if you can't tell why this is my favorite item just from my 3 examples, then you need to go look this item up. Honestly, it's pretty great. Just make sure you don't bite them. Next up on our list is the Myuu Mortar. This is a 2-foot-long tube made of metal alloy that shoots bombs. If you think this sounds like a firework launcher, then you'd be correct because it is effectively a fireworks launcher. It has 4 charges which you can use for one of 2 possible effects, Molten Spray or Myuu Bombard. Molten Spray costs 1 charge and creates a 30-foot cone of molten Myuu. Creatures in that cone take 5d4 fire damage or half as much with a successful dex save. But for 3 charges, you can use Myuu Bombard, which launches a hail of molten projectiles anywhere within 60 feet of you. The bombardment creates a 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder that deals 5d8 fire damage to all creatures within that range, or half as much on a successful dex save. I really like this item for a few reasons. 1, I really like conal effects like the Dragonborn's Breath Weapon, the Cone of Cold spells, stuff like that. I don't know if it comes from my background of MMOs or if it's just a personal preference, but they're really fun to me. Second, it also gives casters a fireball-like ability. Some people may say that's a little bit broken, but honestly I think it self-balances itself with the amount of charges it costs to get that fireball-like effect. So if you want to be launching fireworks at your enemies, be sure to be on the lookout for the Myuu Mortar. The next item on our list is a type of weapon that comes from Wildbound, known as the Archon Blade. This is a rare sword that grants a +1 to all attack and damage rolls made with it, as well as grants 2 different abilities, Dark Blessing and Disheartening Strike. Dark Blessing allows you to use your action to give yourself 1d4 + 4 temporary hit points once per day that recharges at dusk. That doesn't sound initially great, but think about it a little bit more. Temporary hit points don't actually have a time limit attached to them. This means you could activate this after a long rest and just have an extra 1d4 + 4 hit points to start each day with. Nothing amazing, but it's really nice to start the day off with some extra hit points. Disheartening Strike, on the other hand, is a bit more in-depth. When you strike an enemy with your weapon, you fill them with dread. The creature has disadvantage on its next saving throw before the end of your next turn. Similar to Dark Blessing, this ability can only be used once per day and recharges at dusk. Since this feature doesn't have a saving throw attached to it, it's effectively guaranteed disadvantage on their next save. Considering that, this item is amazing for setting up spellcasters' big spells, especially because it doesn't specify a save, it's just literally any type of saving throw being the next one. Granted, if the creature is immune to being frightened, then they're also immune to this effect, but considering how clutch this ability can come into play, it is definitely worth keeping an eye out for. Now, I really like to give my players fun magical items to play around with that can really turn a session on its head. This may not come as a surprise since my first item was the bag of beans, but the next item on our list is similar, and that would be the deck of illusions. This item is a deck of 34 cards that the user can take their action to pull a random card from and then throw it anywhere within 30 feet. An illusion of a monster rolled on a handy dandy chart, depending upon what card you pulled, then appears where the card fell. That sounds pretty harmless, right? Illusions aren't that bad, but let's just take a look at the chart. Okay, a goblin, a copy of the user, a freaking red dragon. Just imagine the implications of dropping a random card in the middle of town to create some sort of distraction. Yeah, you might get a simple goblin, but you might also get a fully grown adult red dragon, which, needless to say, will certainly cause a ruckus. But this item also has another, not mentioned effect that I personally love. If you have ever watched a video about D&D, you have almost certainly heard of the campaign-breaking Deck of Many Things, and chances are your players have too. When your players find these cards in whatever treasure they just got, their faces go on a roller coaster of emotion. They go through this timid hesitation all the way to this scared excitement. It is the funniest thing a DM can do to their players. It might seem like a bait and switch, but it is always fun to watch your players argue about what to do with the item, at least for a session or two until they identify it. I honestly cannot recommend this enough, so be sure to keep a lookout for it on your travels. And the final item on our list for today is the Astromancy Archive. This is one of those spellbook-like items that wizards can utilize as a spellbook with some additional effects. Firstly, the less exciting effect is that you gain 6 spells as wizard spells while you're attuned to the archive. Augury, Divination, Find the Path, Foresight, Locate Creature, and Locate Object. 3 of those you actually can't get as a wizard, so it's a pretty nice addition to any wizard spell list. But what's really exciting about this item is that it has 3 charges which you can use for one of 2 potential abilities. When a creature within 30 feet of you rolls an attack, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can use your reaction to roll a d4 to add or subtract that number from the total roll. That's right, this ability can be used both as a buff to your allies and a nerf to your enemies. But that's not all. Not only is it super versatile, but the ability can be used after you see the roll. This means you can reactively use it to ensure that you never waste a charge. For example, if an enemy rolls a 15 to attack you and your friend happens to have an AC of 15, you can use this ability to guarantee they will miss that attack. And considering this can be used on an enemy or an ally, this item can come in clutch in so many situations. So definitely be on the lookout for this archive. It is highly, highly worth it. And that does it for 5 super fun magic items in 5th edition. But before we end the video, I wanted to give a huge thank you to our patron. William, you are single-handedly carrying my lazy ass through this channel, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. If you want to support us on Patreon, or just join our Discord to join the discussion, I put all the links in the description box below for you to check out. Also, if you have any magic items that you really enjoy, leave a comment below and let me know. I read every comment, almost always reply, and who knows, I might even feature your comment in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and as always, I'll see you on Friday.